Let's start by creating particle system. Particle system is available in the FX menu under N particles. So I'll be create emitter. Now there are two types of emitter. One is the create emitter in the emit, which actually is something which deals with the N particle systems, while there is one which is in the legacy editor, which is a older version of the particle. Okay, so I'll be creating an emitter here. Okay. Now, by default, it comes as in a volume emitter. Probably the reason is in the N particles create emitter. If you take a look, I'll just reset the setting, and once the setting is reset, and now I create one. I have another one which is emitter 2. Okay. I'll be deleting the first one, which is the one over here. If I play it, you see the particles end. Now, before we go ahead on creating something, looking at the parameters, we will need to go to settings, preferences. Within the preferences, I will need to change this to play every frame. The reason is uh, for the dynamics, any kind of dynamics, the particles, uh, the evaluation which takes place should be that it should evaluate at every frame. Okay, so that's why it should be play every frame, and the playback speed will be 24 frames per second. So that is what is needed. So yeah, so as we can see, so if we go to Windows again, setting and preferences, if I kind of set this to, let's say, 24, which oddly might be what will be set by default, and if I play that one, you might see that it might not evaluate at the frame every frame, and you might see that the the playhead just runs quickly. Okay, so that will mean that the settings has not been saved. Yeah. So let me go back to the settings, preferences, settings, play every frame, and ready for play. Okay. Now, once the emitter is created, we see that there are two nodes. That is, one is emitter node, and there will be another which is called as particle. So within emitter node, we'll get to see the emitter type, which is by default will always be omni, but we can change it to a different type want to. So that is, while when we create, we can choose to select the same from over here. But then here is what we see is we can create directional as well as volume. While within this particle, we see that we can have a surface curve as well. So just keep that thing in mind. And as I play this, we see the particles emitting, and there are about, let's say, 100 particles per second which are being emitted, right? Now, they will be emitting forever because as long as it's being played over here, they will just keep on emitting. Now, I want the particle to be probably, let's say, at around 50 frames to 25 frames. I want them to like die off. Okay. So then I will need to go to the particle shape. Okay. And within the particle shape attribute. Okay. So there are basically two nodes. So if I move to the emitter, I will get to see the emitter attribute. While I move to particle, I'll get to see the particle attributes. Okay. So within the particle attribute, there is live forever. And that's why the particles will tend to just move at a certain speed. The speed is also defined over here in the emitter attribute here. So it's moving at a constant speed of 1. But what I'll do is go back over here, change the constant to 1, or I can change it to random range so I can have a variations in the lifespan. So here it is a lifespan of 1, meaning that it is going to die at 25th frame. Okay, and then I want to maybe want that the few particles will continue a bit till 50. I will just be specifying another random range of 5. So few particles will die at frame 1, some few particles will die at frame uh, 5. So if I play this and then just stop, and then if I draw a line over here and a line over here, this is the source. This is, let's say this takes a bit a particle around, let's say 25 frame to reach this distance, wherein which few of will die over here, and there are few which will die within this range. That's what it means, right? So that is how the particle lifespan is defined. All right. So now that we have particles and we have adjusted the lifespan of it, I just want to increase the amount of particles. So just move to the emitter and I'll just be increasing the number of particles to around 2000. Okay. So this is again going to increase the rate of particle per second. So every second there will be, let's say, 2000 particles being added. So if I just move it, just stop it around here, okay, around 25, there are about 2000 particles over here. At 50, it will be double. Okay. So they will be continuing to emit. Uh, Now that the particles are getting created, I will need to apply some force for the particles to change its speed or to manipulate its direction. So I'll be selecting the particle and then going to the fields and solvers and apply a field which is called as turbulence. Okay. So I have a one more turbulence field around it. Let me delete this one. Okay. So now I have particles which have been applied turbulence to it. If I play it, I will see there is some sort of movement in there. Okay. Now it is not exactly a turbulence. If you take a look, it doesn't look like a turbulence because turbulence is supposed to move the particles all around. Here it's what is happening. The particles is just moving in one direction. So for me to, let's say, have these particles not moving in one direction and then kind of altering its speed, I will need to work with something called as phase. So this phase X, Y, Z. I can animate it, or I can even just do a quick apply just a quick expression to this. So this time what I'll do, just apply a quick expression. That is, if I can right click, go to create expression, and I want to apply the expression on the phase X of the turbulence. It means it will be there will be a variation within the X direction of the turbulence for the particles. So I'll just select this attribute, middle mouse button drag. I'll just say is equal to time. So time is something which it will be picking up from the time slider. Okay, so this will, I'll just end the command by typing something as semicolon. I do the same for the other axis. So Control C, Control V to copy, Control V to copy, and the direction will be Y and Z. Okay, and then create. So now if you can see as I create it, I will get to see a purple color over here. That means is that it's been applied an expression. So if I now play it, you will see that there is variation. Okay. Okay, one more thing is I will also need to work with something called as attenuation. Okay, because if I take a look at the turbulence right now, if I hit T for the turbulence, I'll get to see. Hold on, I'll just click on Alt B, Alt B to see what are the attributes. So here, this is the magnitude really, which defines how uh, how big the magnitude or what the value, how higher the value for the magnitude will be. Okay. And there is attenuation. So if the attenuation is all the way to zero, meaning uh, the strength of the magnitude is same all over, no matter where the particle goes in this world space. Okay. If it is even here, it's the same. But if the attenuation is, let's say, goes down or goes higher, it means that the strength of the turbulence will be more towards the source and will fade off as it goes higher. Okay. So here we don't want any attenuation. We want it to be zero. I want the attenuation to be same all over. Okay. I'll just decrease, turn off the grid. Let's go back to the different a darker view. That is by Alt B. I can click on Alt B to go to a different view. And if I now play it, I have a nice turbulence which is same all over. Right? Now I don't want the particles to spread so much. Okay, so they are kind of spreading too much. So one thing what I can do is work with uh, something called as, so if I go to the particle shape mode, uh, there is an attribute which is called as conserve, which is keeping the momentum same. Okay, so meaning that the particle, if they are being applied force, it will be same throughout. Okay, there will be no particle which will be slowing down. Okay? So by taking the conserve or reducing the conserve from 1 to let's say 9.5. Okay? Sorry, 9.5. Oh, let's see. Let's reduce it like this. So 9.8 or 9.5. What we will see is we will see that the particles slows down a bit. Okay? So it is having a very less conserved value in there, and the particle tends to kind of have a drag after a while. There is some force which is acting on the particle, which is slowing down the speed of it, and that's the reason the particle doesn't move. Uh, uh, the particle doesn't move violently ahead; it just stops somewhere. Okay. So there is one attribute to remember. Okay, so if I just even more slow it down, you'll see the effect of it. So I will keep this to let's say 9.5. Okay, is 5 or maybe even yeah. Yeah. So once again, I'll move to the emitter. Maybe change the number to 3. Just want more particles to be seen. Right. Yep. So now I would like to change the color for the particle. So the color will be within the shape node, and that is over here. If I move down, it's over here. So color, and I will need to define the particle's color for object. Uh, Add per particle will define the color of particle per particle. So each of the particles color can be changed. Here I just want it to be the same for all. I'll just add. Take a look what happens over here when I add. It applies these attributes. I make this one, make this one. It is me. The combination of both, that is yellow one. Okay. Now if I hit on current render type, I'll get to see more attribute depending upon what you have selected. So if I select the multi-streak and then click on this, I will get the as the option for the multi-streak. If I select sphere and click on current render type, I get the attributes for the sphere. All right. So I will keep these 2 points. Okay. And then color acclimation is an attribute which will kind of tend to, when turned on, will tend to accumulate the color. If you see, it becomes white over here. Sometimes it becomes white because it's accumulating the particles. It's basically creating an additive effects for the particles uh, which are concentrated in one place. Okay. So here is where I will just try to reduce this by control and dragging. So I get kind of a variation of such like this. So if I select it, turn it on and off, you see the difference. So I see accumulated particles or color accumulation within that particular. Okay. So you might want to now just experiment with the particle effect.